Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to Mahogany Sweets. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you want to. I just wanted to come talk to you guys about the Murdaugh trial, right? With Alex Murdaugh, Buster Paul, and Maggie Murdaugh. Um, it came to a conclusion today. They had closing arguments, and jury found him guilty, which is good, rightfully so. Justice served. So I'm glad that the jury got it right. But I just wanted to go back and just talk about my opinions about all of the happenings with this. The only thing I'm really not going to get into or have an opinion about is the stealing of the money aspect of it. I'm not going to go into detail about that because that is what it is, and we already know that is what it is. He was a greedy person. He was a crook. Most lawyers are and steal money from clients. I'm not saying that that makes it right, not by any means. I'm just saying that's not something that's out of the norm. He just so happened to be extremely greedy and not only get himself caught up, but got his law firm caught up and other lawyers from it coming out, like the guy named Chris, I believe, the other lawyer who was also participating in him smuggling money. We heard other people who worked at the law firm saying that wasn't something uncommon in their giving testimony. I believe the woman name was Vivica or Vivian or something like that, Vicky. She had made the statement saying like, oh, our bosses are always giving their money up off the top. One of them even testified and said it was not uncommon for the lawyers to charge a lesser amount so they could turn around and get pocket money from out of the winnings to go directly into their pockets, get their money off that instead of having to be taxed by the law firm, what they got to put in the piggy bank for that and stuff. She said that wasn't uncommon and stuff. So we know that lawyers have been getting down, okay? But let's get into these other situations. I want to first start with Paul. Paul in the boat incident, which is actually, to me, the catalyst of why what took place in the end. But Paul with the boat incident, some people are calling him a murderer. I'm sorry, y'all might not agree with my take. I don't see Paul as a murderer. I think it was an unfortunate accident. And my personal feelings is each and every one of them were adults. They was over the age of 18. Each and every one of them made the personal decision for themselves to get drunk, to get on that boat, and to know that another intoxicated person was the one driving that boat. I do not think this was their first time ever doing that. I don't think that Paul has been the only driver ever either. I think this is something that they always did. Got drunk, partied, got on that boat, took turns driving the boat, having fun and stuff like that. So I don't think he should be held accountable for her death. If we gonna look at it like each of them making that decision to get drunk and get on that boat, intoxicated, with an intoxicated driver, we need to hold each of them accountable for that decision that they made. And yes, it's unfortunate one died, but she made that decision for herself as well, and her family need to come to terms with that. I believe that the hard lesson with all of these children losing their friend is punishment enough in itself. I don't think it needs to go any further than that. It was just tragic, unfortunate. They have been doing this time. Something horrible just happened to happen with it. If we're going to hold Paul accountable for anything, it shouldn't be criminal charges and stuff like that. At most, it should be for him not properly having the boat up to code, but that would only be if it was his boat at that. And we're not sure if that's even his boat belonged to him. But those children would have also known that, like I said, this wasn't their first time been on that boat. So they would have known the stuff on it that didn't work properly or that should have been in place that wasn't. They each all made that decision. So they each all got to deal with what the outcome of that night was. No criminal charges should come against him for that. Now, that's just my stance on that. Let's get to Gloria, the housekeeper. Let me tell y'all what I think about her. Now, Gloria, the housekeeper, was ruled under accidental death, I believe. She died on their property, on the Murdaugh's property, It was Maggie and Paul that we know for sure were present in the home during the time that it happened. Alex was said to be gone. I think he was at work, but don't quote me on that. But he wasn't supposedly at the premises, on the premises. So it was said that the housekeeper was leaving the residence, and she ended up falling and cracking her skull. So I believe she was outside when this happened on cement. She ended up cracking her skull. It was the second wound that this woman had, right? And they said that that came about because she had tried to get up and fell again and cracked her skull. That to me in itself is what seems fishy, because cool, let's say that, because she wasn't falling from no high distance. This wasn't like she was 10 feet or higher in the sky and fell and cracked her skull. She was just walking. So she's pretty low to the ground. And let's just say for some freak accident reason, she tripped and fell, and it happened to be at the amount of force that it could crack her skull. Even if she tried to get up again and walk, she's already closer to the ground now at this point. She's on the ground. It would not have caused that much significant damage for a second blow to her skull if that was the case. So that's why I'm not rolling with that. And now Maggie and Paul are heard on the tape to the EMS. Talking first, Maggie. She seemed to be the one who was present immediately, either while it happened, or immediately after, witnessed it and everything. Paul seems to be someone who had came in after the fact, right? And then he takes the phone and he talks to the EMS. So it had me thinking the fact that she had the 2 wounds to her head. They helicoptered her to a hospital. She actually lived several days after this incident and died in the hospital. Matter of fact, it might have been like 2 or 3 weeks that she survived these blows to her head before she succumbed to either the injuries of that or pneumonia or a combination of the two. So I don't believe that that's what caused her injuries. Like I said, she wasn't high up in the air for it to crack her skull or fall. We fell many a times, and even those who have hit their head, it's not cracking through like that. So for Alex, and had not even been there, Alex was telling people that she tripped over the dogs, that the dogs is what made her fall, had a severe tragic fall that ultimately led to her losing her life. But Maggie and Paul on the telephone, I don't recall ever hearing either of them mention anything about a dog. And that's what makes me also feel this is a cover-up, because crap, I should have listened to that EMS, that 911 call before doing this, just to re-jog my memory, because there's been so much information being pumped out in this case, so much to go over. So I don't recall them mentioning anything about a dog. I heard she was leaving and she fell. Alex is the one who's saying this dog was the cause of that fall. Still wouldn't have caused this type of injury. So what I was thinking is, although they're saying Alex wasn't there, doesn't mean he didn't commit the crime and then leave. Most people commit a crime, leave, so they can establish an alibi and allow someone else to discover the body, right? Because they want to be as far away from it as possible. Or what they'll even do, like what Alex did in the killing of Paul and Maggie, they will commit the crime, leave so they can establish an alibi, and then come back and pretend like they found this scene this way. So it's very possible Alex could have had done that, but for him to not been there, he's claimed dogs. Maggie and Paul never mentioned a dog. I think that it was Maggie who did it. If it wasn't an accident, which to me, the wounds don't show that it was, it would have taken someone of not enough strength to be able to kill someone with 1 blow to the skull, which is why it was 2. And they claim she fell trying to get up again. So I think it was Maggie. Paul or Alex, if they actually had been the ones to do it, 1 hit would have been enough, most likely to take her out. And at most, if they did have to give a second hit, that definitely would have been lights out. The fact that this woman was hit twice in the head and still was alive for a couple of weeks at that makes me think it was someone of the weaker sex who wasn't strong enough to get the job done in 1 blow. And I think it would have been more than the 2 blows if it wasn't for Paul either coming home at that time or already being home, hearing something, and then coming down, which prevented Maggie from being able to make a third and final blow. Because some people were thinking like, well, I don't think that she was killed, because why would Maggie call EMS, the ambulance, this and the other? If someone has come in the middle of your crime, you will have to play it off. You get what I'm saying? So I believe that that is what took place. When you hear Paul, once he's on the phone, he sounds like someone who's in shock, someone who cares for this woman, someone who wants to get her help, wants her to stay alive. Where Maggie, she seemed a lot more chill for you to either witness this woman take this horrific fall that cracked her skull open twice, or for you to come in and find her like that. So, due to the fact that Maggie said she was leaving the resident, I think while her back was turned, Maggie came and cracked her upside her head. That one didn't do it. She cracked her again. Up, here comes Paul. Let me stop what I'm doing. Paul, it's an accident. She had failed. This and the other. Paul, oh my God, call 911 immediately. He's telling her to call 911. And I think that that's what happened with that. I wouldn't be surprised though if Paul was either had probably somewhere in the back of his mind like, she did this shit. But I'm not sure if how he felt. Now, immediately afterwards, Alex is said to have went to the sons, telling them, here, I'm going to file a claim against my home. I'll give you each 100,000. Like, I'm going to try and get y'all 100,000 each. Telling her sons this, right? So one could think that he hurried up and jumped on it because he's the one who actually killed her and wanted to file this claim against his home, so he can do what he did, get the money out of it and swindle the boys, even though while he told each of them he gonna try and get them 100,000. It was said that he had about 5 million insurance that he claimed that he got for that woman's death on his property. And so he should have been able to get him 100,000. He should have at least kept his word and did that. But it could be that Alex didn't do it, didn't have anything to do with it, and he took advantage of the situation. Like, here go me an opportunity to swindle some money from out of my own home insurance or whatever, homeowner insurance. So it could have been that, or it could have been that him and Maggie was in on doing this insurance claim, or Maggie's motive could have been that the woman found out something, knew something, or somehow pissed Maggie off, and to the point that Maggie went upside her head a couple of times and decided to kill this woman. We don't know, and we might possibly never know which one it was. If she knew something, was going to reveal or expose something, or if she was in on getting the insurance money out the home as well, just like her husband, or what. But that's how I feel about that. I think Maggie did it. That fall wouldn't have caused that severe of an injury, not twice at that. A woman is weaker sex. It would have took her more tries to try and kill that woman by hitting her upside the skull. And that's what we seen, I think. So, cover those two. Now I want to get into the Stephen guy. Stephen was a young man. He was LGBT community. He was found on the road, staged as a hit and run accident. And it is said that he had links to Buster, which is Alex's oldest son, firstborn son. Paul is his youngest son, the baby. So it said Buster and this boy had a relationship. That's speculation. It said that Buster's name was brought up several times. It was said that they even did a rape kit on a young man, and it was all thrown under the rug. From what I heard is Alex immediately tried to hop himself onto this case, be close to it and everything, and I think that that was for him to protect either himself or his son. Everything about the case was off and fishy. It was clear evidence that it wasn't a hit and run and that his body was placed there. I think that either Buster was living a double lifestyle and maybe the young guy was going to expose him. Maybe the young guy began trying to bribe them. and that's what got him killed. Or it could have been as simple as the young guy was going to end things or trying to end things with Buster, and that's what got him killed. But I think that it's most likely one of those reasons. He was bribing them, going to expose them, and we know what's his name. Alex don't want to give up no money. Okay, he ain't trying to get nobody arrested. He's trying to get everybody's tokens. He ain't trying to get none up. So if the young boy was bribing him, he put a target on his back. And if the young boy was going to expose the relationship, he put a target on his back. And I think that either Buster or Alex could have been a culprit of that murder. They could have worked together on that because, of course, Buster would have possibly took the issue to his father. Or since the father was the one with the money, the young guy could have went to him if he was bribing. Could have went directly to Alex. But either way, if Buster committed the crime, he took it to his father either before or after it was done. Or Alex committed the crime with that young man. That's all I have to say about that as well. That's what it seems like. I did hear that they're supposedly going to go exhume the bodies of Stephen and of Gloria. That could have just been a tactic to scare the defense, to scare Alex, and they might not do that at all. That's yet to be seen. We'll all find that out in the future if it comes. So now let's get to the two victims of this trial, that the murders Alex being tried for. He's being tried for the murder of his wife and the murder of his son. And I think that he did he was found guilty of it now. I think that he did kill both of them. And I think motive is definitely evident. It's all over the place of why he would kill both of them. But let me go and get into the dynamics of the relationships. I think, because some people were saying like, well, if he killed the wife and Paul, why wouldn't he have killed Buster? Because Buster wasn't his target. Buster is his first son, his legacy holder, as well as Buster has came off to me to be the one out of the family that was closest with his father. Of course, like any young man, I believe that Buster idolized him, worshipped him, that Alice could do no wrong in Buster's sight. I think that Buster probably jumped at his command, was eager and always willing to try and appease his father, ego stroke his father, and just adored his father. So Alex being a narc, which I do get narcissistic vibes from him. Of course, this person who feeds into the image he wants to see of himself, he would love, adore, and want to keep around, right? Buster serves use to him. So I would think that those are the reasons that kept Buster in the clear, as well as possibly also being the fact that, well, as I go into my motive for Paul and Maggie, that also would make it clear. But that's why I don't think Buster was ever a target or would have been a target. He was his father's cleanup guy and his father's ego stroker and stuff. Well, with Paul, of course, we all know how I go with babies, right? Babies, and I'm gonna say babies in general in this instance. I'm gonna say babies and women having babies in general. Her attention is going to that child initially. The child is an infant. The child needs a lot of care, time, and attention. So Paul, being a baby, of course, would take attention away from Alex when he had just gotten it back. If Buster was now off to school, a bit more independent and stuff like that. Now it's this newborn back in the house that is getting up every few hours and taking my wife from me. But then on top of that, Paul was the baby of the family. And normally babies of the family are the closest to the mother. Siblings will tell you that, as well as the husband will tell you that. So I think that Paul and Maggie had a very close relationship. I think that he was her baby boy. He could do no wrong in her sight. She probably always coddled him, always defended him and stuff like that. And then Paul being the baby, I think Alex had that jealousy aspect, or tension. Just, it was already that tension there from Paul's birth of being like a wedge, a place of contention for him and his marriage or whatever. And then I think as time went on, them two, Maggie and Paul, stay close. He's gonna ride or die for mommy because mommy always got his back, and mommy gonna always ride or die for him because that is her baby, the last cub. I think Paul most likely was personality type because normally them younger kids be like this. I think Paul was a ball buster for Alex. I think Paul brought out or exposed Alex's weaknesses and flaws. Like he mirrored them for him, and I think Alex didn't like that he had this child that, okay, you bust my balls, you don't praise and worship me like the other child, you're more so closer to your mom, who you pretty much taken attention and devotion away from me, she giving it all to you. And yeah, so I think that him and Paul more so had that type of relationship where they never ever actually really gelled with each other. And Paul was the baby who was a thorn in Alex's side. Because we know that Alex and Maggie were targets of his. He requested them to be at that scene at that time. So it's clear they were his target. Those were the two that he wanted. He did not request um, Buster, which he could have if he wanted to. He didn't choose him. He chose them too. So I think that as we know, as time go on, even a bigger withdrawalness come in married couples where they drift apart for whatever reason. The chemistry and love just not there the way it used to be. The interest, should I say, isn't there the way that it used to be. So I think that it was already, the family was already broken off in factions. Her and her baby boy, Alex and his protege, right? And then as time went on, his interest was no longer with his wife anyway. I think he got to a point where he could care less. It was just going through the rigmarole of things. Due to how close Paul and Maggie seem to have been, Alex could have felt like an outsider. I would think that anytime Alex was probably trying to reprimand or discipline Paul, Maggie from infancy till that day, probably always tried to cover for him, defend him, and protect him from having to face consequences, accountability, from getting his father's wrath. And of course, Alex probably had an issue with that. And they probably just he was outnumbered by them two. Them two was probably always deciding each other, like even the smallest dinner. Them two was always gonna click up and vote together. And so I think Alex played a position in those three where he was the outsider. And them two had their own little yin yang thing going on, Paul and Maggie. And that they possibly even would gang up on him and always side and back each other with everything, right? So here's the other reasons why I think that he did it. Alex did it. Alex is the one who requested them to that location, and supposedly just so happened to not have been there himself, right? But we all know that that is a lie. But I'm just saying, let's roll with it. He the one who requested them to be there. Mysteriously, a killer ended up being there too at that time. So I think he did it. He was there prior to them dying, directly prior to them dying, and then supposedly after they died, right? So he was the last to see them alive and the first to see them dead. That makes me think he did it. We've seen evidence that lets us know he actually was there within minutes, seconds of them actually dying. That tells me he did it. It was done with their own weapons. That tells me he did it. He even tried to hide those same weapons. It was said he took Paul out driving around that entire day with them doing shooting and supposedly hunting and stuff like that. So he was already, it showed he was setting the stage. They had nothing there that would draw someone to there to rob or steal or do anything. So that rules out the supposed random person who came up on the scene ended up killing them too. There was nothing that would have drew that person there to do that. There was no SA that had taken place. So there's no evidence that someone else had a reason to be there. Then he tried to use, people been giving Paul threats, so there's motive there. How would they know when they're there at that location? They wouldn't know that. Only person who knew where they were and when they were there were their killers. And their killer was because you're the one who drew them there, and the only person who knew they were there. So that tells me he did it. He did just as much acting like a criminal throughout the whole ordeal as he did trying to play the victim. That tells me he did it. He had a lot more to lose by them still being alive. They serve a greater purpose to him dead. To me, that proves he did it. None of his story has lined up. He has been proven in several lies. He tried to hide evidence from the crime scene, plant false evidence at the crime scene, remove evidence from the crime scene, and even the house and the vehicle. Like I said, everything he did throughout it was acting like the criminal, the suspect, just as much as he pretended and tried to be. Right. See, he wasn't acting like the criminal suspect. He was. So he was acting like the criminal suspect that he was, and while trying and pretending to be the victim, which he was not. So it was just a whole bunch of things to me that told me he was a killer. All right. They used GPS, and cell phone. Like, it was a lot of evidence that proved he was the killer. But let's move on to motive. I think that he was very upset and angry. Paul was costing him a lot more money, right? Paul costing him money. He being sued because behind what Paul has done, he already didn't like Paul to begin with. The mother siding with this boy, who he no longer really has interest or relationship with like that anyway. And I think that with everything, so Paul became a target by costing him all this money. And now you're the sole reason why all my skeletons are coming out. They wouldn't have been checking into my books if you didn't do this. I wouldn't have needed to steal more, because they said that the theft had ramped up and became more rampant, which means it then became more sloppy, right? Anytime you're doing anything out of desperation, you're bound to be making bad decisions and not covering your tracks well and stuff like that. So he's stealing more money now, and he's being sloppier at it. And Paul is the one who put this target on his back for all these skeletons to begin to come out. We know that the wife, she did not work. And I believe that with all of this coming out, because, like, okay, he got all these lawsuits coming. His job didn't realize he had stole all this money. So that's another issue with that. That's more lawsuits coming. And then he's fired from that job. So I think that pressure cooker to him said, y'all are the source of my pain and aggravation. Specifically Paul. So he wanted him dead. And Maggie, I think that with the information, she was about to find out all the lies he had been telling her, right? Big, bold-faced ass lies. She was about to find out all the shit he was into and what he was doing. As far as she was about to find out about the drugs, she was about to find out about him stealing all this money from work, find out about him being fired. So I think his ego could not take another L, right? His pride couldn't take, oh, now I'm being divorced too. Because any woman, I think, will tell you, you come and find out that your husband is nothing that you thought he was, or at least a lot worse than what you was giving him credit for, that he's been telling you mountains of lies all this time, and you're fired and stuff. So I think that she was going to leave him, and he knew it, and he said, no, I can't, my pride can't let me deal with the public speculation of a divorce. And we know that Johnny boy Paul, he's riding with you and going to back anything you say in a court. You know, the divorces can get ugly. We know he's a greedy and selfish man. He didn't want to have to come up out of nothing to share with her or give her. So I also think that it had to do with that. I'm going to lose more money if she divorced me. My ego and reputation is going to look even worse if she leaves and divorces me. I think that he knew she would leave and divorce him after all of this came out, because now he can no longer control what it is that she know. He'll no longer be able to spin the lies from the stuff. Okay, like, yeah, you need to know, I gotta tell you this, but I can still spin my nice little lie on it to cover still what I want. So I think all that was about to blow up in his face, and she was about to get a ton of bricks laid on her, and she would have left. And he said, I can't have that. You're going to even take more money from out of me, and that's going to look bad. I'm already losing everything. I'm not about to lose my family too. You're worth more to me dead than alive. Paul, you done cost me hella money. I don't even like your ass, and and you was costing me money, and now me taking that money then got me caught up. So I think that that's what made them to become targets. And it's also said that properties belong to her, right? So not only will he have to worry about in this divorce losing more assets and losing money and his public reputation, but now I can't even use the assets that we have to try and get even more money. You know what I'm saying? From the loans, from getting loans, remortgaging a house, stuff like that, or selling it. So I think he looked at it like y'all both worth more, are worth more to me dead than alive. And also look at how they were shot. To me, how they were shot showed it was a hunter who did it, and he was the hunter. They were his prey. He lured them there. He staked it out. They said that Paul was shot in the shoulder, right? And then shot, I believe, in the head. So yeah, then shot in the head. Well, for him to have shot Paul in the shoulder, that would mean Paul now knows I'm being targeted. Someone trying to kill me, and I think he might have knew who that face was, who was trying to kill him, right? Because you laid low and you snuck attacked him. So I don't know if the shot in the shoulder was a mistake, or just to lure him out. Like, okay, time is going. I got to get this job done for how I set up my alibi and how I want to spend this. So he wanted to lure him out and then take the headshot. I'm not sure why that happened like that, but it 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 was done like how a hunter would snipe his prey. How he shot Paul in the shoulder, then shot him in the head when he came and hit that door. And then when you get to his wife, that was done also like a sick person having fun with their prey. I'm going to wound you and slow you down, take you down, then execute you, right? Because it was said that she had 4 shots in her, and it was 2 to the leg or 1 to the leg, and then went up through her body. So that sounded like to me like you stalked as a hunter. You set back, you hit her in her leg, wounded her there. She can't run off or anything like that. She can't go. Anyway, it seemed like he hunted her like in a sick way, played with his prey before he killed her. I'm gonna take you down first. So he did the non-lethal shots and then did the lethal shots. And also, he might have been trying to kill Paul while they were riding around all that day shooting, and he was setting up the stage to make that one look like an accident. He could have planned on doing that. We gonna ride around and we gonna be shooting, hunting. So now when I kill you with one of these weapons, I can say, oh, it was just a freak accident that happened and I made a mistake and killed you. But the issue was Paul himself knows how to hunt, and Paul is armed and probably on guard and alert if he's in hunting mindset. So I think he probably realized then this ain't gonna be as easy to take you down as I thought it would be, because you're too alert and you're armed yourself. I can end up getting hurt and be the one end up being killed myself. So I think he had to scrap that plan, pivot, and that's when he went to that one. If that is in fact true, of what happened that night, that would be my perspective on it. So then this idiot goes and tries to say someone was so he wanted to commit suicide, didn't do it himself though. So you're gonna have this other man do it. And I would think this: if someone came to try to if you are a willing standing target and you and told someone to kill you and they agree to this, they're not about to just give you a grazed flesh wound and at least not leave you like that. They're gonna go and make the kill shot. So if you had hired someone to kill you, no, you would have had real life attempted shot to the face, to the head, or something like that. Not a graze for a still target, willing target. No, it don't work like that. But a person who wants to appear like someone's trying to kill them but not actually die, yeah, they and that's very good with guns, because he had been a hunter his whole 5 decades of handling weapons. Yeah, you would know how to give yourself a flesh wound and not kill yourself with a gun and by shooting yourself in anger and all that. So he was done with that too. And then you called 911. You claim you're trying to commit suicide, but you called 911 yourself and said someone was trying to kill you. If I'm trying to commit suicide, right, I want someone to kill me and I don't want to do it myself. After they make the flesh wound, no, I'm gonna be like, you idiot, come on, get it right, get it together. Right here. Right? That's what I was thinking then. And then even if you backed out then and say, look, I can't do this. I'm not about to go and call the police and say, someone just shot me. So he was like, he got caught in so many lies and just dumb, stupid, contradictory lies and stuff. It was clear and evident that this man did that crap, and it's clear motives as to why he did it. But those deaths aren't the only ones that are connected to this family. Alex killed someone else as well. His father. He killed his father with all Alex shenanigans, bullshit, bringing down that legacy of that family. The last straw his father could handle was finding out that his daughter-in-law and his grandson were killed. Because I think he knew Alex did it, and I think he couldn't go. His heart couldn't take anymore with everything that was going on. Because forget what Alex was telling him. Alex probably was telling his father a whole bunch of lies. But his father talked to other people. And I think that the other people was letting the father know, like, it's coming out that he did this or he doing that. They coming after him for this is another. And I think when his father got the word that them two were dead, I think he knew exactly who did it, and I think he couldn't live with it. I think that was enough that took him out. So Alex inevitably killed his father as well. They say his father died a day or two later after those two murders. Yeah, you took your father's heart. Your father died from a broken heart. You tortured that man in his last days with the bullshit you did, fucking up the law firm, bringing down the name of the family. You ruined it. You ruined him. Now his mother also turned around and died. I don't know how that happened or what that looked like or why. But I do think that his father died as a direct result of what his son was doing and how disappointed, how heartbroken he was about Alex's behavior, life, how he turned out and what he was doing. Buster, I think, is of course going to stick behind his father. If Buster knows his father did it or not, or want to believe his father did it or not, I don't know. But I do believe that hero minds. I do believe that Alex's armor has chinks in it now from his actions, and it's all coming out. I do believe that much, that Buster probably does not still hold him on the same pedestal he once did, but Buster is still going to be loyal and love him. Of course, that's his father. Of course, he's going to always love him no matter what he's done or do. And that's the complexity of being human and the dichotomy of how we work, that someone who can do you so wrong in so many ways, you can still have this innate desire to love them and this love for them. So I believe Buster, of course, will still have that, but I don't think he hold his father in the exact same regards as he once did. And if he is in, let's say, denial about his father being the one to do it, if that's what his heart and his mind need right now to cope, to be able to live after just losing his other two family members, then I think we need to let him do that. And I don't think that Buster should be held accountable for his father's actions. I don't think that he should be looked down on for his father's actions. He is just as much a victim in this as the ones that are deceased are in this. He's a victim of the same demon. He's just still breathing and they not. So I find that so weird when people go harassing and threaten the loved ones of a person who did something heinous, because it's like, they not the ones who did it. They don't deserve that. That's not right. So I hope people aren't coming after Buster based off the sins of his father or based off the love and support that he has for his father. Now, if you want to come after him on that Steven thing, then be my guest, because I believe there's definitely truth there that he's connected to why that young man is deceased, whether he's the killer or not. I definitely think he is. And that might be another reason why he's supporting his father. If his father helped him out, get him out of that situation, or if his father manipulated him to think like, I had to do this to save you and the family's ass because of your decisions of messing with him or something, or the shame I put you bringing, then Buster would be under a mind control, which he definitely is under mind control of his father. But he would be under my control even more to be like, I have to support my dad because my dad did this because of me, or I did this and my father helped me and covered it up. I have to support him anyway. So it could be either or. I don't know. We don't know. But justice comes around, right? See, now if Maggie did kill Gloria, Paul mistakenly, his bad decisions aided in his friend dying from her bad decision. And then you have Buster, who his bad decisions either he killed, or he aided in the death of Stephen. And then now you have Alex coming down on under all of this, right? That was just show you how evil begets evil and how it breeds on itself. It bred on itself, right? Maggie could be the karma. What happened to Maggie could be the karma of what she did with Gloria. Paul could have ended up beginning to drink excessively, trying to numb himself because in the back of his mind, he know his mom the one who killed Gloria, and that's why he was on that boat drinking and getting with his friends and probably neglecting this day. He always knew his father had him, so they the ones who drove him to drinking, and why that girl ended up dead. And then Alex, that was your karma. Paul ended up in that situation that brought all this to life for these bricks to fall on you because you were stealing for all these years and doing all this wicked stuff to people. So that came and brought that on you. But so this is your karma because you took that innocent man from his loved ones, and now your father is the one who took your mother and your brother from you. Y'all get what I'm trying to say? How evil feeds and breeds off itself. Yeah, Maggie and Paul. Alex was the same one helping y'all out through the murders y'all committed. Like I say, even though I do not believe Paul is a murderer in my opinion, but I'm just saying for the sake of my point, he helped y'all out for the murders y'all committed, and yet y'all died at his hands. It was just a feeding ground. That's how evilness works. It's a feeding ground, and when you close your eyes to it, when you participate in it, when you enable it, it comes back around and it gets you, right? So I think that it should just be a lesson to, oh, also to the fact, it should be a lesson to the fact that we think we get away with stuff. We're never getting away with it. Never. We might not face justice then. It's coming around in some way, somehow. It's coming for a circle, and we gonna have to stand in it and face it, right? And that's what was happening to, what's that? To Alex. He was having to stand and facing it. Paul ended up being the one, as he always was, your ball buster, the one who had to expose you and show you your flaws. He did that all growing up, symbolically, metaphorically, literally, and he was doing it once again now by having all your books came and looked into them, looking into your money, which tracked them to knowing what you've been doing all this time. So yeah, he was very pissed at Paul and wanted Paul out of here and gone. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. I want y'all to give me your thoughts about the Murdaugh case, and look at the name. The name told you it was murder. Oh, see, guess what? We don't even know what goes up in his bloodline. It ain't no telling what his grandfather, his great grandfather, or even his dad were doing in their lifetime. We have no clue the rapes or murders and theft that they could have been doing, right? And which is why it came till now to let that family name implode on itself to bring the whole house down, because it comes sooner or later. See, it didn't hit even in the, let's say, the great grandfather's generation, the legacy falling. It was a few generations later, way gone after you pass and gone. But so yeah, we always gonna have to deal with and face a justice, a consequence. We just pray and beg God that he show mercy on us in it. But it's coming sooner or later, so we got to try and be mindful of that. And it might not even get us, it might be served through our children. And now what's befalling your children is actually your justice being met for what you did, what you done. or God, or might not have in this lifetime, and God, or both. Really, you live a miserable life as well as still have to face judgment on judgment day for your sins because you never turned to God and repented for any of it, and you continue doing in it till your death. So justice always gonna come, even if the law ain't the ones who they'll dish it out. God, you can't get around God. He comes and he comes full circle. Okay, so I'm just trying to be mindful of that in life. The justice don't always come. Chickens gonna always come home to roost. So we got to be mindful of what we do, what we wink at, what we turn an eye to, what we allow in our families, and our loved ones, what we compromise ourselves to be willing to do, because it will come back on us and those we love hard. Give me your take. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great evening.